I'm getting pussy and you don't really regard pussy or vagina or women or as that. So I remember years later when I was with the Arisha girl, I was telling her mother, yeah, I met that guy and he said he just did it to get women. She said, good, whatever, but he did it. And now I got what she meant. You know, that's just a basic statement. Now, I was still like, it has to be a nobler cause. You know, that's what you think of here. But all right, motherfuckers, my food been outside. I hope my goddamn, what did I get? None that's gonna spoil. Better not, cause I'm gonna choke the shit out of everyone. I'm coming to every one of your house like fucking what's them two niggas, Silent J and Bob did. All right, Rudy Ray Moore, anything with him. His films is good. Gil Scott, The Last Poets, brought the social commentary to hip hop. That's good one, damn off the block, because that was the thought. Maybe that was it. That the social aspect of it. Maybe. I would wrestle with that, but you got to understand the social aspect of it was an idea that came later. It's not what Melly Mel and them were doing. The social aspect, where I would say The Last Poet and maybe Gil Scott, was probably Public Enemy, which was 87. So when you go back to 82 or 3, when you have the message, it came from a different place. That's why I wrestle, because the shit talking started. I said the hip hop, the baby, the bop, the bop, and it developed more. See, I'm him, the dim, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight. When you watch the movie 5 on the Black Hand Side, that's exactly what the nigga says when he comes in the barbershop. I am him, the dim, the ladies pimp, the women fight for my delight. He didn't say I'm the grandmaster of the PMC. But you see what I'm saying? That's where they were deriving that from. Now, when they were trying to end it before it began, it was like, these guys are just fools. They just make stupid shit. After school, I take a dip in the pool. Nobody wants to hear that. Where's the substance? So Melly Mel, who was, you can see him, go look at anything he's doing today. He's the same. You don't want to say shit wrong to him. You don't even want to say I love you to him. He had that about him. He was Gil Scott. He was The Last Poets, and he was from the streets. He knew how to talk that shit too. Look at their other records. But he was able to go inside and give you the message because it was a true reflection, just like what Gil Scott was doing, and just like Last Poet. He wasn't getting it from them. He was doing it. That's the difference. And that's where it came from. And then there was Problems of the World today from the Fearless Four, who just made Rockin' It, Rockin' It. And then they said, oh, Problems of the World today. My mama and my daddy don't get along. Mama been the bump to the death of the after school. They want to kick my ass. All of that shit was happening because it was actually coming from us because we had something to say. But it started from shit talkery, because when you had it's like that and that's the way it is, Sucker MCs is right on the other side. Shit talking was what we were trying to do. So that social aspect. Now, when Public Enemy came and made it, because then they started saying rap is too serious. We just want to dance. Run DMC was the breakthrough because it's like that. Sucker MC, they showed it what you want to do. You want to be serious or you want to dance? They had no more to say about it. Then rap turned into all non-serious. Dana Dane, Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play, everything that Marley Marl was doing. Bronx, they were suffering. That's why KRS-One had to do such a stunt. Queens was not in the original streets. So when Queens was where you went in New York when you had a little bit of money. You moved out of the Bronx and out of Harlem. So everyone in Queens had just a little bit more money. A little fucked up houses, but better than them holes in the Bronx, Harlem, and in Brooklyn, in most places. Wasn't as rough. There was rougher places, South Side where 50 Cent was rougher. Queensbridge was a project, but since it was so close to Manhattan, it actually was great living. There was poor people, but there was a lot of worker, you know, it was a working class project. So what the fuck was I just talking about? You know when I'm getting hungry. What the fuck was I just talking about to tell you? Oh, okay, so they were mad that's why KRS-One did a stunt. Hip hop didn't start out. Queen Sham was not talking about it. He was talking about our story. And he knew, KRS-One knew damn well. If you go to Marley Marl and Drink Champs, Marley Marl explains to save me some fucking time. Because I remember it. So Queens was making a noise with rap. And we were telling fun stories because we had better lives as kids. And the hard things were happening. That story was in us. We didn't need the last poets to say, now we have a map. So by the time it turned, after the Message era, in that era when Run DMC from Queens came out, Def Jam's Queens, so LL, that whole thing, Queens, Tribe Called Quest, Queens. De La Soul was like upstate or Long Island. EPMD, Long Island, that's on the outskirts of Queens. Rakim, outskirts of Queens. Coogee Rap, Queens. Beat Nuts, Queens. Kid and Play, Queens. Corona. Salt and Pepper, Queens. You know what I'm saying? EPMD was Long Island, Public Enemy, Long Island, which is really after Queens. Bronx, up above Bronx is Mount Vernon. That's Puffy, Heavy D, and I'm not sure, maybe DMX, Yonkers or something. All of that's starting to go upstate a little bit more, and that's the top of the Bronx. But the Bronx wasn't really making, well, let me think. They were having a one-offs. Brooklyn was not, they were having, because they were so used to rapping in the streets, when the record came, they was a little bit slower. Because we had studio, Marley had a studio, Herbie Lovebug had a studio, Def Jam, Rick Rubin studio. We had studios in Queens. They didn't get them to the second phase, the ones that Premier and them niggas was going to. So Public Enemy came in after all the conscious music was pretty much dead. We looked at it like we proved ourselves. Now let's go back to having fun and shit talking, and we was doing that. Then Chuck D was older than us, so Chuck D came out and said, Chuck D sound. That's why the last Poets was at the studio with Chuck D. Chuck D may have been more inspired by Gil Scott in the last Poets. You get what I'm saying? It actually wasn't Chuck D. It was Rick Rubin's idea, and he told Hank Shockley, who he knew from college, or college life. Hank Shockley was DJing with his brother and Eric Sadler at Adelphi University, and what's his name was at NYU, Rick Rubin. And Rick Rubin got at Hank and said, I want a group. They were going to use a guy who eventually became in a group called Son of Berserk. And Chuck D used to just do announcements on the radio show. He wasn't even a rapper. They chose Chuck because he was a little bit more on point. Son of Berserk actually made records that you can see, and they used the same dynamic, and he sound like Chuck. We're getting really with the band, but he wrote a lot of Chuck's rhymes. Chuck eventually started writing his own shit, but he wrote a lot of that shit early on for Chuck because Chuck wasn't a rapper. They built that over the idea. And I think the idea came from Rick Rubin, Last Poets. They wanted the Last Poets. They wanted the Black Panthers of rap, the Last Poets, the Gil Scott. So they actually made a group about that. See, that's a difference from it being the origin of which rap evolved from. I hate to give you that business like I could give you that business, but hey, you asked for the business. It didn't evolve from them. Public Enemy was the group that mimicked them. It didn't have to evolve. This story was in us. Melly Mel was one of the senior elders who told the story first because they was trying to say, y'all ain't nothing but some bate if you want to party, say party. know what I'm saying? Step, step, step off. You want to get low. They was making records like Melly was making records like that. Him and whoever the fuck Duke Booty was murdered that shit. Rats in the alley with the baseball bats. They couldn't say shit about that. Then everybody followed suit and told their story because we lived in the worst of the worst, or the worst of the worst for us. That, you know, because I'm sure there's worse. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in Austria, you know. So it didn't really come from them. I seen Snoop Dogg say it came from Gil Scott once. I'm like, how would you know, you fucking later day guy? It didn't come from them. Public Enemy kind of injected it into the consciousness. And like you said, the social commentary, it got linked to them because people started getting up on Gil Scott and The Last Poet and poetry as a whole, because rap was becoming this self-esteem thing of rhyming. But no, that shit came from Dolomite and shit talking, bro. Kane did a video with Dolomite. That was the inspiration. All that shit he did in the movies. Sean, he used to do these rhymes. The sanctified monkey, did you see you pissing on me and all that? You stepped on my goddamn feet. Look up if you can find a guy named Wildman Steve. Wildman Steve. These old niggas who used to work Red Fox in the underground, LaWanda Page. There's a fucking LaWanda Page tape of her. That's Aunt Esther. Not, first and foremost, she was fine. Aunt Esther was a character. She used to work on this. She was like a soulmate, just like when you watch Dolomite Story by Eddie Murphy, which I enjoyed, and they showed Queen Bee, which Lil' Kim took her name. Why is Lil' Kim taking Queen Bee's name from Dolomite? That's where this shit comes from. Shit talking niggas on the street. That's what rap is. But it still had the ability to do that because it's still us. And we have the ability to do that. So of course, we wasn't really up on Last Poet. That was our father's song. We got up on it because of guys like Public Enemy. So Red Fox and LaWanda Page, there's something going around. That motherfucker said, she did a whole thing. She said, you need to fuck a nigga from Revelation. She said, from Genesis, I fucked that nigga from Genesis to Revelations. I'm like, what the fuck? She's off the chain. Red Fox was off the chain under the ground. Dolomite off the chain. He has one of his live stand-ups, you know, when they was in the club. A lot of shit he showed in the club, they be doing dances. And they showed he was a shape dancer. They used to do dances, this underground. That's where all the players started. When niggas would go out and dress up, it turned into pimps and players ball. But them player aspects, when niggas was going out balling, all that shit that you do now at the clubs, all that balling, they show them niggas straight up on Dolomite tapes doing that. Niggas all dressed up. This nigga going at niggas in the audience. He said, yo, he told this nigga, yo, look, you are ugly motherfucker. He said, yo, you could scare a bulldog off the back of a meat truck. You know, I said, this nigga's crazy. He said, you know, little shit, them jokes were old, but they funny. He said, you tell him what, he said, Dolomite said, my, what a big ass. He said, they tell you the whole ass, and you got to make 3 trips out of this motherfucker. The greatest thing about that Eddie Murphy movie, the Players Haters Ball, that shit was hilarious, was it not? Dave Chappelle is a fucking masterpiece. Let me tell you, he's a funny nigga, man. He better stop talking about it. They're gonna get him again. And I know he listens. Well, everyone knew he listened to Bobby Hemming. Remember, first of all, 2 things. The dress thing, that was Bobby. Bobby first broke that. He's the first one to say Hollywood in their ritual. And also, they also have to be police officers too. You know what I'm saying? Dave started talking about it. But see, I'm a movie guy. And when Dave started talking about it, the first thing I said was like this, and y'all probably don't even know right now. Whoa. His first movie, he wore a dress through the whole movie. In fact, the movie is about a dress. It's called Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Go watch it. Because I told you I was a Dave Chappelle fan from day one. My father told me, you got to see this young guy. My father put me up on him as a stand-up comedian when he was buck-tooth skinny might have been a Jerry curl or look real funny. So I knew him from day one when he started getting HBO special, because he was actually accepted in white comedy first because he's so clever. And that's what they were looking for. There wasn't Def Jam yet. When he was on Def Jam, he was already a fucking veteran in the comedy world. He was almost out of place on that shit because they was doing nigga humor, and he was actually, because I knew his work, but he was in Robin Hood, Men in Tights, and he wore a dress. That's what the movie's about, Men in Tights. But I give him honors for speaking up. Fuck it. He knows firsthand. So he lose no props in my book for him speaking up, and even if he was doing it, stopping the madness. And say Eddie Griffin is also, remember I said conscious and aware? He's at the higher end of awareness, I believe. Because, you know, he did that whole movie. He's in an exploited movie ranting about how he shouldn't wear a dress. Shanae Nation, nah, I've never put on a dress. And it's a movie done by Master P called Idiot or Famous or Foolish. I'm like, you're in a movie and they're called, your name is Foolish, with a fucking actual fool, Master P, making this statement. So he's not conscious, he's aware. You get what I'm saying? Right, stupid ass shit. I don't remember that movie. And he actually makes this dress statement, but he made it early on before Cat. Them niggas listen. Well, that shit was generated from us, the conscious community. We observe things like that. That's the ritual. I knew they would, but Bobby got reports that Dave was watching. I get reports who watches my shit all the time. I'm like, what the fuck? That nigga? That's my idol. And I get those reports. Bobby got them too. And Dave was one of them who listened to Bobby. I ain't gonna front. I went at Dave because Saturday Night Live is the ultimate ritual. Eddie Murphy went back on Saturday Night Live, put on the buckwheat wig, then he got Dolomite. Eddie Murphy always gets outcast. You think he's on hiatus, but he does something that fucks it up because he's still the biggest blackest star. I don't know box office draw, but he still got that. They raised him up, so they expect certain things. There was times he did sellout movies. Like before they had him as the sidekick, you know, Axel Foley, the smart ass. Then he did Coming to America and Harlem Nights. He outsmiked the white man in Harlem Nights and he rescued the black woman. They shit all over him for that. I remember him saying, well, I don't know why they're going so hard. I did 2 bad movies. Okay, I did 2 bad movies. He acknowledged them as bad movies. And those are the 2 most iconic movies for black people, because that's who he was doing it for. Remember, Eddie Murphy is semi-conscious too. He just doesn't do it. Remember, listen to his album, not that party all the time shit, when he did the shit with Shabba Ranks, When We Were Kings of I King. And he was saying conscious shit. He can't say that by himself. You understand what I'm saying? Most comedians, because of their observation, are actually conscious, not conscious in what we say. So now Eddie Murphy does PJ's projects, Lurin Harajo, and then he got movies with families, The Haunted Mansion, Dr. Dolittle shit. They gave him that dignity. He did something else, had to do Mr. Church, catering to the white girl. Then he got on Saturday Night Live, because you ain't see him for a while. He act like he was just chilling with his married life. No, with his popcorn. Fuck no, nigga. Like, he did Mr. Church, then he did Saturday Night Live. Put on the buckwheat wig, did all those exploitive characters. That's the ritual. And then he got Dolomite. Then he's supposed to be doing a new stand-up soon. I don't know if that's still happening. Dolomite, and what's the other one he got? Coming to America. People didn't like Coming to America. I loved it. I thought it was an excellent tributary to the first one. If you watch it as a standalone movie, no go. But if you wanted to see the characters and a fake development story, a fake development because of your childhood and you love the movie, you just seen something that gave you a little something more. If you look at it as a movie, you know what I'm saying? But he's working because you saw now Dave Chappelle goes on Saturday Night Live. And he does all his old characters, the shit that he vowed never to do. Even the crackhead. Know what I'm saying? But he did it smart where he killed him. But after he did it, he got all that Netflix money in ridiculous numbers. I said, well, and I talked about it. Then he went on Saturday Night Live again. It was almost like he heard me. Watch Dave Chappelle on Saturday Night Live for the second time in the stand-up where he's talking about Trump. He is literally, he's a fucking genius. In his stand-up, he shit on white people so fucking ferociously. We don't do that as black people. See, that's Trump shit. Y'all know about that. Like shit kind of sharkish, shit like that. And white people were dying laughing. When they're laughing, you can literally see Dave Chappelle look up to see if he pulled it off. I said, wow, he's a fucking genius. He's a fucking genius. I said, he went and redeemed even his Saturday Night Live ritual to get back on. He did the ritual, got back on, got the power on Netflix, came back on Saturday Night Live and shit to their face. Pretty much said a fuck you, and while they didn't even notice he was saying fuck. Yeah.
Hit that like button, subscribe, and tap that bell notification so you can be notified next time I drop some more heat.